We're going to play the interview. Obviously, folks, we're going to be interrupting and giving our thoughts to it and reacting to it. I know some people from some of the shows I did this week said that I talk too much. Well, guess what? You got two people that talk even more than I do on this video. So enjoy.
Hey, hang on. Before you hit this button, I have something to say to those people. It's his fucking show. You don't like it, don't watch.
Go fuck yourself. But go fuck yourself. Is that clear?
Let's get into this right now, guys.
Vice President, thank you for the time.
Thank you. It's good to be with you, Bret.
You know, voters tell pollsters all over the country and here in Pennsylvania that immigration is one of the key issues that they're looking at this election, and specifically the influx of illegal immigrants from more than 150 countries. How many illegal immigrants would you estimate your administration has released into the country over the last 3.5 years?
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but
right
do you,
now,
just a number. Do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Bret, let's just get to the point. Okay, the point is
she doesn't know, right? She's not giving a number. Very interesting.
Or worse,
you would think
she does know and she doesn't want to say it.
But you would think that the border czar, who, by the way, was in charge of the border strictly for diplomatic reasons, not for actually doing anything at the border, but, you know, was happy with the title of border czar before she denounced the title when it all turned sideways for her. You would think that the person, for diplomatic purposes alone, would know how many crossings were happening at the border during her administration. Should have been a number that would have been right at her fingertips. I know that if I was prepping someone going on to, let's call it an adverse channel, an adverse news outlet, wouldn't you be ready with stuff like that so you can hit back? Apparently everybody agrees with me.
Would you, Gene?
Would
you say my administration let 21 million illegal immigrants in, including an Afghan asylum seeker that tried to commit a terrorist act on election day? Would you be willing to say that?
I wouldn't say it like that, but I would say, you know, according to numbers from Homeland Security, it's approximately X million number of people. And while we have not done the best job on immigration, we've made up for it in the past 9 months by doing this, that, and the third, and then go on the attack. There are ways to acknowledge bad facts and then bring in good facts, right, Rick?
Yeah, I mean, there are ways that it could have been handled, and there are ways that it should have been handled, and none of them happened.
Okay. Well, I'm interested to see what happens here. Let's see.
that we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
So your Homeland Security Secretary said that 85% of apprehensions.
I'm not finished. We have
it's a rough estimate of 6 million people have been released into the country. And let me just finish. I'll get to the question. I promise you.
I was beginning to answer.
And when you came into office, your administration immediately reversed a number of Trump border policies. Most significantly, the policy that required illegal immigrants to be detained through deportation, either in the U.S. or in Mexico. And you switched that policy. They were released from custody awaiting trial. So instead, included in those were a large number of single men, adult men, who went on to commit heinous crimes. So, looking back, do you regret the decision to terminate Remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration?
Okay, so now I see what you're saying about Bret Baier, guys. He's not putting up with the filibuster. That's what Charlemagne the God called it during his interview the day before this one.
Preface to say two other things, and then I'll keep going. One, to deal with. I mean, you like that? You caught that?
Okay, filibuster, man.
He's not putting up with the non-answer answers, the word salads coming from Kamala Harris. And she's clearly trying to avoid the actual crux of a question, the specific nature that he's asking, and is looking to say whatever she wants to say, the rehearsed narrative that her campaign has come up with her. Ross, are you seeing the same thing that I'm seeing, or am I off the base here, or what do you think?
No, listen, you're 100% right, and we've talked about this before. It's because Kamala Harris, a couple of things going on here. One, she has no real core values, period. She says her values haven't changed. She has no core values. Two is she is not a smart person. She does not know policy. She does not know numbers. She is basically a DEI vice president / presidential candidate who was not vetted through a primary process, not in 2020. You could say she was vetted. She didn't even make it to Iowa, right? And definitely not in 2024. She was just handed the vice presidency after being a failed candidate, and now she expects to be handed the presidency.
Yeah, Rick, the word that I've been hearing about Kamala Harris lately, the word has been inauthentic. Is that the best short description of Kamala Harris?
AstroTurf would be a better one, but yes, it's good.
I don't know, Gene. I think she is authentic.
Yeah.
She's authentically stupid. I mean, honestly.
Well, I just wonder if she's smart enough to know what she doesn't know, and that's why she sticks so closely to the script. And I'm just going to reference the interview with Charlemagne the God again. She actually said, I do this repetition intentionally.
They've been saying a lot of your press hits get criticized. You know, folks say you come very scripted. They say you like to stick to your talking points. And some media says you have...
That would be called discipline.
Oh, okay. Speak to that.
But go on. The reality is that there are certain things that must be repeated to ensure that I have everyone know what I stand for and the issues that I think are at stake in this election.
Mm-hmm.
She has the discipline to not deviate, Gene. But the other question you have to ask are the people that are not on camera right now. The script that you say she follows, who wrote that script? A bunch of other unqualified people. Like everyone knows there's turmoil between the Biden camp and the Harris camp, right? So all those experienced people that have been rocking the Biden camp and the DNC for all these years want nothing to do with Harris. They know she's a dimwit, right? So the people that have surrounded her and gave her this script to stay on are also dummies. The script is word salad. There is no substance there at all. You don't know what her positions are or what she's planning on doing because she will not tell you. She can't tell you.
Well, let's see if she. Well, listen. I'm willing to give her the opportunity to. Let's see if she can.
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath, the first bill that we offered Congress, before we worked on infrastructure, before the Inflation Reduction Act, before the Chips and Science Act, before the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the...
Finish?
Yes, ma'am.
May I finish responding?
Can I finish? Please, can I finish?
But you have to let me finish.
You
please.
had the White House and the House and the Senate,
I'm
and
in
they
the
didn't
middle
bring up
of
that bill.
responding to the point you're raising,
Wow.
and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
Who added the caffeine to Brett's coffee?
But let me just touch on that for a second, Gene, because Rick mentioned this earlier, but I want to fill in the dots here. The Harris camp only agreed to a maximum length of time of 30 minutes. She showed up late and then talked about cutting it down to 20 to 25 minutes for the total interview, right? What's her MO in the debates and in every interview she's done, even on Friendly Turf? She filibusters for 3 or 4 minutes on each question. So if you only give somebody 20 minutes, they get 4 questions. And Bret Baier is not having it, and nor should he have that.
Well, Rick, this is sort of the Harris campaign's MO. I want to give you credit for where credit's due because Ross just stole your point. So this is what Kamala Harris does for local media. This is what she does for local media as well. She allows 4 questions and she's out, right? So obviously the campaign believes that less Kamala is more.
Well, I mean, they've always believed that. This has always been Biden's basement campaign 2.0. And now because Trump didn't want to do the second debate, now they're trying to say that he's the one trying to hide in the basement. Hell, she just got caught trying to say that he was hiding while he was in his second stop the other day. But, I mean, this is what they do. This is what they always do. I mean, that's what I'm saying. The entire campaign is falling apart because everything that they've tried to hide from us is coming to light, like the fact that during the Univision town hall, they found out that there were a bunch of paid participants there.
There were 2 segments of the audience who they filled this quote-unquote town hall venue with. One segment who were actually entitled to stand up and ask questions, meaning the host called on them and they stood up and asked a question. These were people from around the country, Latino voters, who were flown in at the expense of Univision, which is odd. I mean, we're in a swing state of Nevada. There are plenty of people, I'm sure, in Clark County, Nevada, who would have been more than happy to go and ask Kamala Harris a question, but instead they flew people from Florida and Wisconsin and California and other places to Las Vegas. There were also other people in the audience at this event who were not called upon to ask questions, but were just filling seats. And that duty, it so happens, was outsourced to a company called Fans on Q, Fans on letter Q. It's a company that goes and puts out casting calls for audience members to attend stuff like music award shows. So this company is used for the Latin Grammy Awards, where they have people, who go and dance at the award show, but they're selected and vetted ahead of time. I guess maybe to be young, good looking, whatever. And they employ that same service for this event.
Of course, undisclosed Democratic campaign members that are admitting that all of this has been AstroTurf and that none of the enthusiasm was real, which is why you've got all the infighting going on. So, I mean, that with everything that's coming out and this, I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Biden is like in your facing Nancy Pelosi right now.
Like what you see so far? Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you're thinking. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another show.
We recognized from day one that, to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people. And our focus has been on fixing a problem. And from day one, then, we have done a number of things, including to address our asylum system and put more resources, getting more judges, what we needed to do to tighten up penalties and increase penalties for illegal crossings, what we needed to do to deal with points of entry between border entry points. That's the work we did, and we worked on supporting what was a bipartisan effort, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, to actually strengthen the border. That border bill would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border, which is why I believe the Border Patrol agents supported the bill. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States, which is a scourge.
I'm sorry, come again?
What's a scourge? Can someone tell me what did she mean scourge?
I'm kind of thinking she might have mixed up the words scourge and scorch and made her own, but I don't really know. But yeah,
what's a border point between borders?
That's another good question. I listen. She's clearly rattled. Let's say that.
Listen, bro, she's rattled. I didn't get a chance to see Trump's truth feed yet, but if I was him, I'd say, you know what? I did a debate on CNN and on CBS. Let's do another debate, and let's do it on Fox, and let's have Bret Baier be the moderator. Call her out. Let her say no.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing you can do. By the way, shout out to Rick Trader in the comments as well. The chat's saying that there are some issues that weren't addressed in the debate, like inflation, like FBI crime numbers, like flying illegal immigrants across the country and into the country. We're going to get to all of that towards the end, I guess. I want to keep the line moving here somewhat, because we got a lot to get to in this. I appreciate those questions. We're going to get to them as we go through this. But guys, keep those questions in mind as well about what was not asked during this. Ross keeps calling it a debate in our prep here. It's actually an interview. But it certainly sounds like a debate. I'm still waiting for a substantive answer from Kamala Harris here. There was a very lengthy word salad that came out about immigration.
Let me help you with how long you'll be waiting for that substantive answer.
Hey, sound effects. I like it. That's why he's the pro.
Every geographic location in our country killing people. It would have allowed us to put more resources into prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, which I have done as the Attorney General, former Attorney General of a border state.
Madam Vice President, a couple of things.
Prosecuted trafficking of drugs, guns, and human beings. And Donald Trump, but let me just finish.
Six Democrats voted against that bill.
Learned about that bill and told them to kill it because he preferred to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And in this election, this is rightly a discussion that the American people want to have. And what they want are solutions, and they want a president of the United States who's not playing political games with the issue,
I hear you.
but actually is focused on fixing
Six
it.
Democrats voted against that bill. It would have allowed 1.8 million illegal immigrants into the country a year.
Hey there, Bernie.
A lot of conservatives had a problem with it. These are the 6 Democrats. But more importantly, back to the original premise, Jocelyn Nungari, Rachel Morin, Laken Riley, they are young women who were brutally assaulted and killed by some of the men who were released at the beginning of the administration, well before a negotiated bipartisan bill. Former President Clinton actually referred to Laken Riley Sunday, campaigning for you in Georgia, saying if those men had been properly vetted, Laken Riley probably would not have been killed. So if it wouldn't have happened, this is well before any negotiation. This is well before Donald Trump got involved in the politics. This is a specific policy decision by your administration to release these men into the country. So what I'm saying to you, do you owe
Bret,
those families an apology?
Let me just say, first of all, those are tragic cases. There's no question about that. There is no question about that. And I can't imagine the pain that the families of those victims have experienced for a loss that should not have occurred. So that is true.
Hold on a second. Is that an assumption of, is that like a confession of judgment there? Is that a feeling, is that a capitulation from Kamala Harris,
No.
guys?
That was false sympathy projection to try to make everybody feel sorry for her. That's exactly what that was. But just as a reminder for everybody who is watching this live, this is pretty much how America felt the entire time this was happening.
I see dead people.
You're having too much fun. You know what? I gotta get a Steam Deck. That's what I gotta get one of those with some sound on it. But Ross, what do you want to say something? I can tell.
Yeah, so I mean, you'll see it coming up. She'll do this fake empathy crap, and then she'll say "but," right, and she'll make an excuse. And I'll tell you what's astonishing about this, Gene. I was having this conversation earlier tonight, right after I watched this thing. It used to be so easy for Democrats, right? Like Bill Clinton and those guys, even Hillary Clinton, they were for a secure border, or at least they gave lip service to it. You will not hear Kamala Harris say that tonight or ever, right? The modern Democratic Party cannot say anything about securing your border. They'll say fix the immigration process, meaning legalize all the motherfuckers that came across the border. They don't care about stopping the flow. They just want to legalize and get them registered to vote Democrat. That's all they're looking for.
Right, and that was the act that Bret Baier was referencing that 6 Democrats themselves did not vote for. So I'm getting the flavor. I'm getting the flavor of what's going on here. Let's continue on.
Also true that if a border security had actually been passed 9 months ago, it would be 9 months that we would have had more border agents at the border, more support for the folks who are working around the clock trying to hold it all together.
Madam Vice President.
To ensure that no future harm would occur. And this election in 20 days will determine whether we have a president of the United States who actually cares more about fixing a problem, even if it is not to their political advantage in an election, because there was a solution, Bret.
Madam Vice President, it was a policy decision in the early part of your administration. I will let one of the mothers talk about it. Take a listen.
Because of the Biden-Harris administration,
He brought receipts? Oh, no.
Open border policies catch and release. They were enrolled in the Alternatives to Detention program. This meant that they were released into the United States. It was not even a full 3 weeks later that they would take my daughter, Jocelyn Nungari's life. I believe the Biden-Harris administration open border policies are responsible for the death of my daughter.
That's the early days. So do you owe them an apology is what I'm saying.
I will tell you that I am so sorry for her loss. I'm so sorry for her loss. Sincerely.
Anytime someone has to say the word sincerely, means that she
not
knows she's not coming off as sincere, and is probably not sincere.
I'm telling you, dude, this entire thing was a train wreck from jump.
Wow. You know,
I mean,
Ross,
I see.
Ross, something you said, I had a thought about it just now. One of my mentors as an attorney, you know him, the famous Mr. Craig Eaton. I remember him once saying that everything before the word "but" is kind of meaningless. That's kind of what happened here. She's sorry.
Yeah.
She has empathy. Sincerely, she does. But then you get to the crux of it, right, pal?
Yeah, and insincerely, right? Because the other thing, and you kind of hit on this when one of the guys in the chat threw out there, like there were a lot of things Bret couldn't cover in this, right? But it was a very short amount of time, and we can't even get answers to like the questions that are being asked. Because like another follow-up that I thought should have been asked, but he just didn't have the time to do it was, yeah, you can say like Congress didn't pass X, Y, or Z bill, but you want to be the president. So like what will be different if we elect you now, right? You can't just blame Congress. There are executive orders that you guys kind of overruled or overturned on your first day in office that created this chaos, right? So what is going to be different? Congress isn't magically going to pass one of these bills going into the next cycle, especially if Republicans take back the Senate, which is likely to happen, it looks like.
Absolutely. By the way, we have over 20 people now on YouTube, about 45 overall across platforms. Hit the like button, guys. Like and share the show with your friends. Let's get more people in here. Subscribe to the channel. We're going to keep going through this video reacting to what really hasn't been a good start for Kamala Harris, I got to say.
But let's talk about what...
Did you say something, Rick?
Yeah, I was going to say add 143 to your numbers.
Woo! That's from KLRN?
You're right.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
baby. Oh, baby. KLRN Radio. Special shout out to everybody there. Rick, if there's anybody in the KLRN chat on X right now that you want to pop in with some thoughts, let a brother know. I'll be happy to listen to them. Shout out to the crew at KLRN. You guys are awesome. So we got a lot of people watching this right now. It's pretty cool.
is happening right now with an individual who does not want to participate in solutions. Let's talk about that as well.
But do you want to answer
in all fairness, I told you, I feel awful for what she and her family have experienced.
During that time, you said repeatedly.
Wait, so no apology. Let's all make that a mental note. No apology. Bret asked twice, and she feels bad, but she doesn't feel bad enough to apologize.
That the border was secure. When in your mind did it start becoming a crisis?
I think we've had a broken immigration system transcending, by the way, Donald Trump's administration, even before. Let's all be honest about that. I have no pride.
You got that right.
In saying that this is a perfect immigration system. I've been clear. I think we all are.
That was a very awkward pause. And that can be clipped and clipped all over the place. I have no pride. By the way, Ross, I think you told me this. When her voice goes up an octave, you know she's having problems, right?
Oh, yeah. Watch the shoulders and the chicken wing with the arm. She starts doing that stuff too, right?
Right.
But she says, let's be honest for a moment. Gene, for the first 3 years of this administration, the press secretary and Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and the Secretary of Homeland Security all said there is no crisis at the border. They specifically said no crisis. They kept saying it over and over and over again. Now she's saying, well, let's just be honest. It's been broken forever. Really? There was no crisis.
Well, Rick, didn't, what's his name, Mayorkas, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, didn't he say that the border was under control before Congress?
If you will recall when you testified here in front of me when I asked that question, when you very clearly stated we do have operational control, when presented with the actual definition of operational control, you didn't hesitate. You said, I do. And you, in fact, then referred back and said, I believe that my predecessors would have said the same thing.
Congressman, 2 points. One, you did not let me complete my answer. Two.
Hold on. Give me your second point. Go ahead.
Thank you. Two, the Secure Fence Act defines operational control as not a single individual crosses the border.
I'm aware. I read it, and I read it to you, and you read it, and in fact, you said, I do. You didn't hesitate. You didn't say, I do. I need to explain what I mean by I do. You said, I do, over and over again.
Otherwise known as bullshit. Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're allowed. We are not on any FCC regulated areas. We on the interwebs, baby. This is like the Wild Wild West right now. You can say anything you want, and I'm good with it. Except for Gallo, he's only allowed like 10 swears an episode because once he gets going, then you get on double secret probation again.
that it needs to be fixed. We need more. I was just down at the border talking with border agents, and they will tell you, and I'm sure you probably, I know you investigate and you are a serious journalist. They will tell you, we need more judges. We need to process those cases faster. We need the support for those cases that should be prosecuted.
The same border agents, Ross, that threatened to quit their jobs if Harris gets elected?
Yeah, the same ones that they said were whipping and strapping Haitian migrants that were coming across the border. Notice she did not talk about any kind of enforcement action, right? She's talking about processing them more quickly to release them into the interior of the United States.
She wants Walmart door greeters. That's what she wants.
Oh, those poor old people will not have a job then anymore. That sucks. Oh, boy. Or as Eric Adams likes to say, he can always hire them to be lifeguards. That wasn't racist at all, was it? Back to the video.
They need more resources, and Congress ultimately is the only place that's going to get fixed, Brett. Well, that's how this system works.
That's the premise of this question. There were 90-plus executive orders that were rescinded in the first days. Many of those were Trump border policies. I'm not going to stay here because there's other things to talk about, but you frequently talk to the Border Patrol Union for support of that bipartisan bill, and they did. They supported it. But they also just endorsed Donald Trump and said, you've been, quote, a failure with border security. Why do you think they said that?
I think they're frustrated, and I get it. They want support. They want support, and that's what that border security bill would have done.
Can somebody get her a tissue? He seems like she might need a tissue.
Well, you know, I know my voice goes up an octave when I get excited, but she's up in the soprano range right now. They need
By the way, Gene,
I was going to say somebody might need to get her a tissue. Sounds like she needs a tissue.
Yeah, and all kidding aside, boys, has she said anything of substance yet? She's trying to be your president. What is she going to do? What is her plan?
Nothing.
Yeah,
okay.
well, to be fair, we're only 8 minutes and 45 seconds in. Did you expect substance in the first 10 minutes? Come on.
And this is why Bret Baier has to keep jumping in, because it's impossible. She won't give you an answer.
Right. So courtroom etiquette, when a judge asks a question, I have to answer it directly. Kamala Harris is taking the long way around to answer questions.
Gene, you're being very unfair, Gene. You're a lawyer.
Well, isn't she a lawyer? Kind of why I brought it up, don't you know?
I mean, technically she was supposed to be a lawyer, but from what I heard, she never really did much while she was a lawyer.
Well, it's not that she was supposed to be a lawyer. She was the top lawyer for a very large state. If she would have answered questions like this from an appellate panel or from a judge during motion practice or anything like that, then what the hell? You know? It's ridiculous. I just don't understand why she thinks that she can get away with this. I can understand in June. I can understand in July. But now we're in October. Does she not realize that at some point she's going to have to give a substantive answer and a direct answer to a question, Ross?
But Gene, why would she? Why would she think she would have to? Right? She supposedly grew up in a middle-class family. I'm going to put that aside for a second because she grew up in Canada. Her formative years were in Canada, but we'll put that to the side. She came up in San Francisco politics, a one-party state. She was sleeping with Willie Brown, which is where she got her start in politics. She didn't even register to vote until she was 29. She has no substance, no ability. She is a DEI hire from the beginning. She was never asked tough questions. She never had to prove herself. She never had to earn anything she's gotten, from district attorney to attorney general of the state to a United States senator. She was just in line in a Democratic machine where she ran against no serious opponents ever. Right. So she got picked for vice president after dropping out of the 2020 race before Iowa. Right. Picked out of thin air. She's been MIA for 3.5 years, never asked a hard question. And now she is at the top of their ticket without going through a primary. So no, she did not expecting to answer tough questions ever. She is shocked right now. Shocked that people actually ask questions and want answers.
If you like that clip from our new show, Behind Enemy Lines, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any other shows, and tune in live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.